moves to orders set down for the extended sitting, and I call on Government Order of the Day number 7.
Environmental Reporting Bill, third reading.
The Honourable Dr Nick Smith.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Environment Reporting Bill be now read a third time. Mr Speaker, this bill represents the Government's commitment to bringing New Zealand into line with best international practice when it comes to monitoring and reporting on the condition of our natural environment. It was a policy that the Blue-Greens developed during National's time in opposition, that we campaigned on and that we are now delivering on. It is about giving greater integrity to New Zealand's clean green brand by providing independent and authoritative information on how we match up. It also represents a major advance in improving the regularity and the integrity of national level environmental data so that New Zealanders will be able to access information on which to base important environmental, business, economic and societal decisions. Mr Speaker, it's very much about the fact that we do manage that which we measure. As all parties in the debate on this bill have acknowledged, New Zealand is out of step with other OECD countries in that we are the only country not to have a statutory system for regular, independent, state-of-the-environment reports. The bill we are now debating contains provisions that will ensure those reports are regular, that they're independent, that they're comprehensive and they are accurate. This means the public can have confidence in and certainty about the scope, the timing and the quality of New Zealand's environmental information. It means that we're going to be able to get on and rather than just spend time debating the data, that whether it's accurate, whether it's relevant, whether it's timely or where it's come from, with this regime, New Zealanders will be able to actually focus and get on and deal with the issues that are important for us to improve the management of the environment. What's under pressure? What's not working? Where is data getting worse? Where is it improving? How can we fix it? They are the sorts of conversations that are far more constructive than some of the arguments that go on in the environmental space about whether we can rely on the information. It's essential if communities, businesses, local authorities and central government are able to use environmental information to make better decisions on very important decisions that affect our environment, our economy and our society. In fact, Mr Speaker, I would put to this House that New Zealand, more so than any other OECD country, given the importance of our primary industries like agriculture, like forestry, like fishing, like tourism, that are so dependent on our natural wealth, that we more than most require robust environmental reporting. The scope of the reports produced under this bill will be comprehensive, going beyond the program of just environmental indicator updates that the Ministry for the Environment has produced in recent years. The reports will cover not just the state of the environment, they will describe the pressures that are driving those environmental trends and the impacts of those trends on our lives. To give a bit more detail, state topics will describe what the biophysical condition of the environment is and how it has changed over time. Pressure topics will describe the human activities and natural factors that influence the environment to help us understand why it's in the condition that it is. In the impact topics, we'll look at what are the consequences of any changes in the state across those 5 categories. These categories are the ecological integrity, the economy, the public health, culture and recreation, and through the select committee process we've also added with the representations of the Maori Party, Te Ao Maori, to include their view on our environmental reports. The impact topics will help New Zealanders understand how changes in the state of our environment affect different aspects of our society. A good example of this is to look at an issue like air quality that impacts on the health of New Zealanders and whether it's getting better or worse. If concentration of air pollutants increase, exposure to the increase in concentration can have an impact on increasing premature deaths, hospital admissions and restricted activity days for New Zealanders. Some of these health impacts will result because air pollutants can aggravate existing respiratory conditions such as asthma. People and organisations need to understand these links so that they are aware of how the state of the environment affects New Zealanders. And so then we can make better informed decisions about how we expend our resources to improve things. The environmental domains that will be reported on as specified in the bill is the air, the atmosphere and climate, freshwater, land and the marine environment. The bill requires the Secretary for the Environment and the Government Statistician to publish a domain report on each of these 5 environmental domains every 6 months. Then every 3 years, the Secretary for the Environment and the Government Statistician will be required to publish a national level report on New Zealand's environment that covers all domains. After reports are produced, the Minister for the Environment and the Minister of Statistics will be required to present such reports to this House. The bill strikes a good balance between ensuring the timely availability of information to the public, the statistical integrity in developing these reports on our environment. As the new environmental reporting regime matures, the information and database on which it relies will improve. Statistics New Zealand and the Ministry for the Environment are already working closely with organisations like regional councils, Crown Research Institutes and the Department of Conservation in providing the environmental data to be able to support this national level reporting. The independence of the new environmental reporting regime is guaranteed through the involvement of the government statistician in determining which statistics or measures for each topic meet the high quality statistical standards that are required. I would like to add the regime's independence is especially supported by Clause 16, which ensures previously unpublished data, statistics and findings in environmental reports will be released to everyone at the same time. This clause is a key mechanism for keeping our environmental reporting independent and at arm's length from the government of the day. The regime's independence is also shored up by the role of the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment, who can audit each report. This provides the public with the assurance that the information is being independently reviewed and that Parliament and the New Zealand public is being kept informed on those things that really matter about our environment. Mr. Speaker, I know members of both the Labour and the Greens know that this is a good bill that addresses a deficiency in New Zealand's environment systems. And as I've listened to their contributions in the Select Committee report and the committee stages, I do think they are in that space of opposition, of just opposing for the sake of it. If you go into the details of the concerns they have, they do read very much like they are clutching at straws, and let me deal quite specifically with 2 of those issues. The first of the issue is that this bill provides for regulations to be set around the topics, and there's been questions around that. The reality is that the topics that we need to report on the environment do change with time. For instance, the issue of climate change became quite new and out of left field as that science evolved. Equally so if you look at an issue like CFCs that developed. I'm sure over the next 20, 30 years of the likely life of this bill is that there will be changes in the issues that we need to measure, and that is appropriate. I'd also say that the process of consultation around those regulations is extensive and ensures that there is integrity to the way in which they are developed. I also find rather churlish the criticism of the bill that it does not provide for reporting of New Zealand's greenhouse gas emissions. That, of course, is an important issue. But I draw the House's attention to the Climate Change Act that requires that information reported through the United Nations system and for their audit, and would question why we would want to double that bureaucracy. And Mr. Speaker, the last point I wish to make is that I think this is a very important bill for the management of our environment. If you ask me as a parliamentarian of 25 years what's the most important and best bill that's been put through this Parliament, I would say the Fiscal Responsibility Act of 1993 that required open and transparent reporting of this country's finances. We went from a period pre-93 where this country had some of the worst public books in the world, and since we've moved to having some of the very, very best. My hope and ambition for this Environment Reporting Act is that through this independent quality information, about the genuine state of New Zealand environment is that it can shift the focus to those things that we do need to give priority to in improving how New Zealand manages its natural resources. Mr. Speaker, can I conclude by thanking the officials, my colleagues, particularly Scott Simpson and the team on the Select Committee that have done a good job of putting this bill on the books of this Parliament. It will give greater integrity to New Zealand's clean green brand, and that matters for this country of ours.
Dr. Megan Woods.